Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elliot Kallen, CEO of Prosperity Financial Group. Welcome to another very exciting episode of Meet the Expert with Elliot Kallen. Today, we are talking to business owners. So if you own a business, think about becoming an entrepreneur, you're entrepreneurial, you will get a lot out of Jeff Holman today and his firm, Intellectual Strategies, and all types of ideas that you're going to hear that his firm and his journey bring to the market. All right. So that's what today is going to be all about. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Elliot. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. If you want to reach us, I'm at Elliot, ELLIOT, at prosperityfinancialgroup.com. The website is obviously prosperityfinancialgroup.com. The phone number is 925-314-8503. Reach out, send us questions, get us information. We help the business owner and so many other people achieve their goals in life. And that's our job because we manage money and we build portfolios. So when you're making money, guess what we're doing with that money? Making you more money. That's what we do. So let's talk about things that you do that are fractional. Jeff is an intellectual property. He's got a great intellectual journey. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do and what this journey is that is so important to people around the world.
Yeah, I would love to. And as you talked about what you do with your services, we do a lot of the same stuff, right? We're there to help builders. We're there to help people that are building something new and to do it the right way, do it the smart way. So we just happen to do it from the legal perspective, whereas you're doing it from more the financial perspective. But both critical roles for what our clients need.
So what are the products that your firm offers, and how is that different than what already is happening in the marketplace?
It's a great question. From one perspective, if you ask my friends who are in law firms what we do differently, they'd be like, oh, they just do the same thing. They do contracts, they help people start businesses, they help people get patents and trademarks, they help people resolve disputes, which is all true. We do all of that. The magic, though, in what we do is how we deliver those services to our clients, right? And we could just look at what the normal response is when you ask somebody, hey, are you going to call your attorney? Nobody wants to call their attorney, right? We master communicators, I guess, in the industry have created a situation where nobody wants to call us. Nobody wants to hire us if they don't have to. And that's kind of preposterous if you ask me. And so as I've gone through my journey leading up to this point in my career, I've been through several things, and I came to the conclusion that we were doing it wrong. We were making it hard for people to get our expertise instead of making it easy. And so what we've done is adopted what I call a fractional legal team to make it easier to get the right legal expertise at the right time from the right attorney on in this case, a fractional budget.
So what is, for a business owner now, he wakes up tomorrow. I'm a business owner. I own 3 entities. I own 2 financial service companies, totaling about $1 billion, and a charity, A Brighter Day, at abrighterday.info that deals with teens and stopping teen suicide. I hate calling my attorney. Sometimes I hate calling my accountant because I know my attorney is $400 an hour, my $600 an hour, and my accountant is $400 an hour, and he's worse at billing me than my. I hate this. I hate it.
Yeah.
How do you get me to stop hating it?
I totally understand it. I don't blame you. If I had to call an attorney pretty frequently. Fortunately, I don't, because I do a lot of my own stuff. But if I did, I don't think I would like it either, right? I'm kind of a Utah DIY guy myself. In fact, I was just in another room in my house. I work out of my house, and I was thinking, oh man, I've redone so much of this house, and I've done a lot of it myself because I like it that way, and I don't necessarily want to pay the outrageous prices to hire other people to do it. Attorneys are the same way. So as I was going through my career journey, and I've been in Silicon Valley law firms, I've been in my own law firm, doing work for clients like IBM and Intel. I've been in-house, which means being the sole or the one of a few attorneys in a company and working directly with the executive team. As I've gone through that, I came to the realization that what we need to do is we need to make it so that people can call us really easily and know that we're aligned with them in their business. What does that mean? That means that we charge a flat rate that is measured to the amount of services that a company really needs, and you get access to our entire team. So a couple things. when you're a solo attorney, and I've got a lot of friends who do what you might hear referred to as fractional general counsel. It's a solo attorney who you hire them for a few thousand a month or 10,000 a month or whatever level it is that you need them for, and they'll do all your work for you. It's a great service. It's kind of the beginning of what we're doing. But what you end up doing is you end up working with one attorney with limited expertise, and they become a bottleneck. I've been there. I've tried that, and I've grown out of that into this legal team approach. Because working with clients, you really need to have the right people at the right time in the right place. You have a contract that needs to be written one day, and it needs certain expertise. You have a patent that needs to be written. That's not your contract attorney. That's a patent attorney. But your patent attorney is not going to help with your trademarks, and your trademark attorney is not going to help with your litigation. So you really need access to everybody at the right time. Just like, going back to my remodeling example of my house, I don't want my plumber doing my electrical, and I don't need my electrical stamping my civil engineering or structural engineering drawings, right? We need the right people. I don't need to hire a full-time electrical engineer for my remodel. I just need them for a little slice of time. And so we've created a model where we bring the whole team that a startup needs. We cover what I like to say 95 to 98% of what every startup needs to get from the idea stage to operating stage. And we do it in a way that we're not billing you for every phone call. We of course get paid for our time, but it's worked into a model so that it doesn't create the anxiety of every phone call. It's just simply, we're on your team. We flatten out the fees. We make it so that it's tailored to what you need, and it's proportional to what you need. And maybe I shouldn't say this on a recording anywhere, but I'm the type that I hate my billable hours as much as my clients do. No, I don't know many attorneys who like billable hours and having to track all their hours. So if you catch me on a good day and you got some questions for me, and we go over a little bit one month, so be it. I would rather have open communication channels with my clients and them with me than try to maximize every 6-minute increment that I get paid for. So I don't know if that comes across, but there's a lot of philosophy and some logistics in the way that we do it that just is different from law firms, because law firms are just not set up to do that. You get in a law firm, you get gatekeeping where people don't want you to touch their clients. And so there's a lot of this protectionism that happens. And so then you also don't get the right people necessarily on the job. You get the person that you hired for one job trying to do all the jobs for you instead of spreading the work around. And so there's structural things in law firms that just don't work the same as when you create from scratch a business model that really is tailored to be collaborative with clients instead of an outside service provider.
Well, so let me ask you a question here. We're talking with Jeff Holman. His firm is Intellectual Strategies. He's an attorney. He's bringing some new ideas for business owners to control cost of attorneys. And we'll get his information a little bit later down the show. But I want to ask you, I am starting a new business. I've got 3 businesses now, like I said. Okay. It's brand new. Okay.
Yeah.
It's we're business. So B2C.
Okay.
Is what we are, business. All right. We want to scale up. We want to raise money. We want the contracts to raise money. We want to do a business plan to raise money on that. And we want to do it all via e-commerce.
Okay.
So I've just laid out the game plan to you. Help.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love where you started, because this is where I start. We do a lot of what I call of strategy calls, initial 30-minute strategy calls with clients, potential clients, to kind of get on the same page. We might not even get into the legal side of it in that call. What you've raised, you didn't say to me, "Hey, Jeff, I've got this legal issue and I want your time to draft a document." You didn't say that because that's not the way you're thinking about it, right? You're thinking, I have a business, I want to create this revenue stream, and I want to do it with this target market, and I'm going to have competitors out there doing this. What you're talking about, you're really talking about strategy, just the fundamentals of building a business in a strategic way. And that's exactly where we try to start our conversation, right? So I'll often talk about the 5-factor framework that I use for business strategy. It applies to every business, but every business has its unique features, and so you want to figure out what are those factors that play into your business. So, for example, for what you're doing, I would want to know more about timelines that you're on. What timeline are you trying to launch this business or raise your money, or perhaps enter into strategic partnerships with vendors, in an e-commerce way, or whatever that might be, right? There's a lot of detail we get there. I would want to know about what the resources are that you already have. Now, you mentioned that you want to get funding, but in e-commerce companies, oftentimes a lot of the value you're creating is in your branding, right? Which we can protect with trademarks. You might be inventing products, depending on the type of e-commerce. If you're in consumer product goods, you're probably inventing products along the way, and you might need patents for those things. And so we start to walk down these factors of the strategic framework, and we can then have start off our legal conversation with a really good understanding of the business strategy, the business objectives and timeline that you're putting out there, and that you want to, that's what you're focused on, the business. We want our legal to also focus on the business and not become its own separate monster, if you will.
Well, it sounds almost too good to be true as a business owner when I don't have to pay $600 an hour to a lawyer, and I can get him for a fraction of this. One of the phrases you gave to me when we were talking in a pre-call,
yeah,
and we do this at a pre-call, everybody, because we want to come off as professional as possible. We went through 145 plus episodes at this point, top 2% financial podcast in the world, because of people like having Jeff Holman on here, and you want to have an interesting conversation. You mentioned the phrase innovative confidence.
Yeah, innovate with confidence. Yes, you've mentioned my favorite phrase.
What does that mean?
So I've been through, I've been working with innovators and creators in some capacity since before 2000. And it probably took me 10 or 12 years into my career. I think if I can be totally candid about it, when I started working in a law firm, I'm like, hey, how does this fit into the business? And where, what does the client want? What are they working towards? And there was a lot of kind of pushback on those strategic alignment questions, right? And I kind of fell into line. I said, well, if the partners don't think it's important, then maybe I don't need to think it's important. I'll just write words on paper, and I'll get patents for people, and everybody will be happy. And that's an acceptable way to do things in some settings, but it's not very fulfilling, even if it's acceptable. And for me, when I always saw my inventors out there, they were out creating something. They had this idea in their mind, and they were bringing it into real life. They were building their life around this new concept, and they were doing a lot more than just getting a patent. But a lot of inventors, when you're in this process, maybe you're experiencing some of this yourself in starting a new business. If that new business is in an area that you're not totally familiar with, you haven't been down that path before, perhaps, a lot of my clients haven't invented a product before. They haven't done product development. They haven't launched a brand. They haven't started an Amazon store. They haven't, created a SaaS platform. They haven't done these things before. And so there's a lot of questions around what happens. So if you take, kind of that first 10 years of my practice, where I think there was a lot of desensitization happening, the way that lawyers maybe are prone to do or taught to do, I came to a point where I said, I need to do something that's more fulfilling, more aligned with my clients. And one of the things my clients need is, they're all innovators, but I don't know that they're innovating with confidence. I don't know that they feel confident about the path they're taking, the decisions they're making. And so it became a goal of mine, maybe around 2010, 2012. I don't remember if there was an exact date, but it became a goal of mine to be a resource for innovators so that they could then do what they do with confidence. That's the origins of that phrase for me.
We're talking about Jeff Holman of Intellectual Strategies. He's a lawyer. He's come up with a fractional legal program, which is pretty fascinating. And he helps the business owner grow with patents and trademarks. Just my last question, really, this has been great, because if you're a business owner, these are conversations you have to have, not even want to have. So let me ask you about AI. Because AI is changing every business. I mean, I own a couple financial service companies. AI is going to change the way we do business. There's no doubt about it. I even was at a meeting the other day, and somebody was giving a lecture about AI and said they're using Chat GPT 4. They've been working on it since it came out. They have mastered themselves on Chat GPT 4 that this person now, this not person
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
AI is doing a weekly report on the 5 best stocks to buy that week and the 5 worst performers of that week, and just a quick overview of what happened that week in the financial markets. And
Yeah.
the clothes changed, the mannerisms changed. He showed it to his mother, and his mother couldn't tell it wasn't him. So the
That's
world's
funny.
changing.
Yes, yes, it definitely is. It's impacting all of us for sure. And there are layers upon layers of legal issues that are surrounding those things. Some of those are, making us as attorneys more productive. Some of those are helping clients to know what to ask for from their attorneys. Some of those are even replacing attorneys to some extent. So that, yeah, it's we could go down a lot of different paths with that conversation if you have specific questions about that, but it's going to impact all of us, and it's impacting us already.
Well, that's great. And I've got a couple questions for you offline about my own business. So we've been talking with Jeff Holman. We've been talking about fractional legal work. We've been talking about innovative confidence. You've got a business, you want to protect it. You may sell it one day. In the book Over My Left Shoulder Driven, I talk about phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is startup. I want to talk to Jeff about my new startup. Phase 2, I've got something really going now. I don't want to lose it. And I have to defend the patents. I have to defend what I'm doing. And phase 3 is, oh my goodness, I'm now reaching the age that I need to do something with this business and maybe move on to the next stage of my life. And I better be talking to my lawyer about my options here, because I don't want to lose all that 20 or 30 years of great effort.
Yeah.
So Jeff, how do people reach you?
I spend quite a bit of time on LinkedIn. So if you reach out to me on LinkedIn with something other than a clear solicitation, then I'm likely to connect with you directly on LinkedIn, have a chat if you want. The other thing we do is, I mentioned it before, it's important to us to understand the businesses that we're getting involved with. And so we do a lot of free 30-minute strategy calls. You can get onto our website. Anybody can get onto our website, in fact, and see my calendar. And if you want, schedule a 30-minute call, and we'll talk about, the strategy framework we use and the business objectives that you're working towards, maybe the chaos that you've created, the messes that you've created, and how to clean some of those up, and how to put legal strategy in alignment with your business.
What is that website?
The website's intellectualstrategies.com.
Okay. You heard it here, everybody. I'd look at it if I'm a business owner. I want to even talk to him offline about my own business. Thanks for being part of Meet the Expert with Elliot Kallen, 925-314-8503, prosperityfinancialgroup.com, or Elliot, ELLIOT, at prosperityfinancialgroup.com. Jeff, thanks for being part of our show.
My pleasure, Elliot. Thanks so much.
We'll see you again real soon, everybody. Have a great day.